Well, good morning, and it's actually Christmas. I have watched a lot of movies. I don't know how my channel got to be a movie review channel. That is like the farthest thing from what I wanted that channel to be for, but I'll create the other channel when I get around to it. I'm having fun doing movie reviews. It's fun talking about movies because I watch movies constantly because I am a cable cutter. I don't have television, so I watch Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and I watch a ton of movies. So I started doing movies reviews for popular movies that were out that I'd watched for the first time, and I thought it'd be fun because the movies I'm watching now. Well, I'm actually watching some television series, so I don't want to get into reviewing series, but so I haven't watched a movie in a while, and what was fun was I carried my phone around for about a month, and I thought, what were my favorite movies? I wanted to do a top 10 movie list, and what I found was it was really hard. I came up with like three or four movies that I love, but you think about movies from your childhood or movies from, years ago that you haven't seen for a while. So when you start to compile the list, it's like, um, it was hard to do. I just couldn't think of it. So I went through my DVD collection. I went through my VHS collection. Yes, I'm that old. I went through, I just checked out some other lists, like, IMDb's top 100 and stuff. Uh, so I kind of over the course of a month, I did come up with a list. I think I got about 20 on my list of top 10 movies. So what I did was, and there's no way of ranking them because, like, if I'm in the mood for an adventure movie, this is going to be my favorite movie. If I'm in the mood for comedy, that's going to be my favorite movie. So you can't just say, okay, this is my favorite movie. It's just like there's a conglomerate, and so I picked my best. I'm just gonna go through them. I know there's like 11 actually, so and then the rest I put into a category I called honorable mentions, um, because I think they're worth mentioning as my favorite movies and stuff. So I uh, I kept them on the list. So I'm gonna start out with the specials, and the specials is just one of these movies that I latched onto. Um, Keep in mind, I want to go back up a little bit because these are my favorite movies. These aren't movies that are critically acclaimed, you know. But if you're gonna watch my movie reviews, you might want to know what my favorite movies are, just so you get an idea of what I like. So these aren't movies that were critically acclaimed because the specials, I have never heard of the specials. When I ask around, no one's heard of the specials. When I tried to buy a video of it, I couldn't find one. So it didn't resonate for some reason. And I never heard of it. I'm not even sure how I saw it the first time. But it's a superhero movie, and it's actually directed by James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxies and some of the other Marvels, and so he's when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy, my God, that was a huge blockbuster, and so James Gunn, the director of that, this is one of his early movies, and it's about superheroes, and it's about them on a day off. There's no crime fighting taking place, and how they kind of relate in a superhero world when there's nothing going on. And I don't know, this movie struck home to me. I mean, it's a very warm movie. It's the best scene is you know the great Strobe is a guy who can shoot lasers from his arms. Uh, he's the main protagonist. He's in a deli or in like a cafe, and another hero whose name is Eight because he's eight bodies but one mind, so he can be in eight different places at the same time. He comes in, they're having a heart to heart talk, and there's just a scene about the Strobe is fed up. He doesn't want this anymore. He caught his wife cheating on him. He's breaking the group apart, and he's very discouraged. And Eight comes in, and Strobe says something along the lines of, the world doesn't need the specials, because they're like the seventh or eighth top group of superheroes, so they're way down the totem pole. And he's like, the world doesn't need the special, and Eight comes back with, the world doesn't need the specials. The specials need the specials, and that kind of like summed up so many things because a lot of times with a group of people, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're with that group of people, and that's what this movie was about. It was about being small fish in a small pond, the camaraderie, the way they stuck together through it all, and um, it really touched my heart. And it's like I said, James Gunn is actually in it. He plays Minuteman. Nope, don't say Minuteman. He's Minute Man, and that's one of the running gags. There's lots of good jokes in this movie. It's funny. Again, I don't know why no one's ever heard of it. James Gunn, if you someone were to look at Guardians of the Galaxy and think, I wonder what this guy did before, and catch the specials, and oh, this is also about superheroes, and it's got a lot of big names in it, and I don't know, I just never understood why no one watched this, but it's a good movie. It's one of my favorites. I watch it. It's in my DVD player almost constantly, so when I can't find nothing else to watch, when I'm doing the dishes, I throw it on, and I just love it. It's very relaxing to me. The next movie is a Pixar movie, and God, it's hard to pick a good Pixar. I mean, Pixar is like the first 10 minutes of Up, where it told the story of the life of the characters. My God, if you weren't moved by that, you're not human. And you can hear my throat clenching up right now. It's like that is touching. That was gorgeous. And picking a favorite Pixar movie, is nearly impossible. But the movie I really liked was Wall-E, and a lot of people found flaws with the story's kind of silly. Um, but it's about the end of the earth, and the original tagline. I remember seeing this. I can't remember which movie I saw, but there was just a very short teaser trailer, and it said something like, "What if the human race was gone and someone forgot to turn off the last robot?" And that's exactly what it was. It was this last robot on Earth. He was a garbage crusher, um, just making an existence for himself. And that those first, I think it's like 22 minutes. There's no dialogue. It's just Wally going through his life, Wally meeting Eve, and just the whole setup for the second half of the movie, which is when they bring the people into it. But I mean, that just really resonated, and the way they brought in the old time movies, it's Hello Dolly, and they got songs from Hello Dolly, and it's just gorgeously done. And when you watch it, because it is robots and because it's just buildings and trash, when you watch that first half, it's just gorgeous to look at. You could really believe that this is a real robot and they filmed it doing this stuff. It's just gorgeously shot. And then when the humans come into it, yeah, you can then tell it's a cartoon, but just everything about it is gorgeous. And I just love this movie. And of all the Pixar movies, because all the rest are going in honorable mention. That's fine, because I just don't think there's a bad Pixar movie out there. But Wall-E is my favorite. It resonates with me because I watched it at a time when I was alone in life, and it really hit home for me. And that's out of all the Pixar movies, that was my favorite. My next one, and this was kind of hard to do because I grew up watching Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, uh, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. Not so much the Three Stooges. I don't know why, just they didn't resonate with me. But Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. I grew up watching these old time movies with a pair, and Laurel and Hardy. You know, because they're shorts. They're little 20-minute movies, 10-minute movies, and I just love those movies. And if I had to pick, I'd say all Laurel and Hardy movies are in the top 10, and because they're just timeless. When you watch them now, you can just see it's a different time. And a lot of times I'll watch it with my kids, and they'll be like, "What the heck is that?" I'm like, "That's how they heated an iron back then, or that's how they did water back then." And it's very timeless. And then Abbott and Costello was one of my favorites. I just love these two. But they made a movie. I love mysteries, and I love a good, well written mystery that unfolds and unwinds, and people have to figure out what's going on. And Abbott and Costello, this is actually one of their rare movies where they weren't a team, because Bud Abbott played the ghost, or Lou Costello played the ghost, and Bud Abbott he played two parts. He played his great great grandfather, and he played himself. But it starts in the Revolutionary War. It actually shows how these people were mistaken for traitors, and how they were cursed, and how they became ghosts. And then it jumps ahead to the late 1940s. Modern people, they fix up the house. The ghosts are haunting the house, and they have to figure out, well, if we can prove they're not traitors, their ghosts will no longer haunt this house. And I just love this mystery. I watch it. It's my tradition every Halloween. I'll play it on a loop on Halloween. I'll take the specials out. I put this movie in, and it's like it's again, it's so comforting. It's a good mystery. It shows you how it happens. It shows you how the other people figured it out at another time. I just love it, and of course it's full of jokes and it's funny, and I love Abbott and Costello, and so this is one where they kind of reverse roles, because normally it's Bud Abbott picking on Lou Costello, but in this one it's Lou Costello. He picks on Bud Abbott, and Bud Abbott redeems himself in this movie, and it is one of my favorite. Again, I'm kind of clumping all these in together because I wanted to put one of the road movies on from Bob Hope and Dean Martin, but I just couldn't find one that was my favorite. So this movie inched all those out. I'm very happy. I just love it, and I'm glad I found it on DVD. And like I said, every Halloween I'll play it. When I'm doing the dishes and stuff, it's very fun to watch, and I have a lot of quotes from my life from this movie, so I had to pick it uh, above the rest. My next one, and again, these are in no particular order, so I don't think I'm picking because I started with the specials. That's my absolute favorite movie. No, these are just like my bunches of favorites. So the next one is Rango, and Rango came from Nickelodeon Studios, and I just love the look of this movie, and it's almost better than Pixar. The hair of these creatures, and every character is so well made, and again, it's a silly movie, it's a fun movie, but just it's a gorgeously shot movie. And sometimes, this is one where I might criticize. I'm like, what does it want to be? Because it talks about the one bullet, and the one bullet was a theme, but then it talks about finding yourself, and finding yourself was the theme. And it had a couple different themes in it that I don't know, but just the whole layout of the movie, and it's just gorgeous, and the scenery is gorgeous, and just there's a scene where he pushes a gun across the table, and they zoom in on the gun, and you would swear this gun was real, just the way it slides across the table, and they pause on it, and it's just a gorgeous movie. I love watching it. Um, Again, I can't say now. I might review all these movies one by one later on, but this is just a gorgeously shot movie, and I couldn't recommend it enough. And it's right up there. It would be in my top five if I had to pick five. Um, the next one is a French movie. It is subtitled, um, but it's called Emily, and you probably saw it. The cover is Audrey Tautou looking at you with her eyes, and she's just gorgeous, and it's so much fun. And it's about this woman who like is very observant, and she makes friends wherever she goes, and it's it's a couple different things tied into one. It's very funny where she picks on the guy across the hall and the things she does to him, and I still crack up about it. I still, she buys him the exact same slippers, but she buys them in a different size. So every day he's getting up and one day they're loose and one day they're tight, and she swaps the doorknobs around, so they're the same doorknobs and they all work and everything, but they're different in different places, and he's you can see him like starting to doubt his sanity. So he switches all the numbers around on his phone, and it's just so funny. And it centers around her finding this photo album, and it's a very unusual photo album. You got to watch the movie to find out. And so she's trying to track down the owner of this photo album without revealing who she is. And then there's it's just really gorgeous movie. It's fun. I mean, it's not one I could put on and wash the dishes to, because it is, I don't know French. Uh, I can't read the subtitles when I'm not paying attention to it, but it's just so much fun to see all the different things. And this is, I know they borrowed this from somewhere else, but they did a really good sequence with the garden gnome, and it's a very fun movie. It's one of my favorites. Whenever this is my late at night movie when I'm just relaxing, I'll be like, oh, I'll be flipping through it. I'll say, oh, look, there's Emily, and I'll put it on. It's a very fun movie, and it's one of my favorites. And um, I can't say enough about it. But that leads me into another foreign movie. It would be hard to compile a list like this for someone who sees a lot of movie, a lot of eclectic. Because I've watched movies from drama to horror to science fiction, cartoons, big movies, small movies. So, and when you look at this list, you will see that meanders quite a bit. So this next movie, um, you, you can't have a list like this without having a Studio Ghibli movie on it. I can never say his name. Miyazaki was a director, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Princess Mononoke," and I'm like, "No, this isn't it. I like Spirited Away. Spirited Away. It was just, for one thing, it's gorgeous, but it's just got these characters that you would never dream of. And I'm a writer myself, and there's a lot of characters I come up with. I write science fiction, so I come up with these funny aliens and how they view things. And but this movie was just like the guy with the tea bag, and the different gods that come to the wash house, and the old lady and the bouncing heads, and it's just so much fun. And it's just so many different people, and they all just accept each other, which is one of the coolest things. And the bouncing heads accept this, and the dragon, and it pulls you in so many different directions. And I I love this. I watched the American dub of it, and it's just gorgeous. And I'm so glad. That was kind of my entry into the Studio Ghibli. And I've watched Howl's Moving Castle and the Delivery Service. But this movie, this is one I come back to. It's just the characters are they're not just so diverse, but they're so well defined, and the interaction, and just the characters do unexpected things, but they're still within character. And it's just one of my favorite movies. It made the list. And um, speaking of crazy characters and stuff, The Fifth Element is also on this list. And The Fifth Element, if you've ever seen it, it's just a fun, futuristic, kind of space, kind of futuristic on Earth movie. Um, it's just about, it's just watching this movie is like riding a roller coaster. Like when you see the crowded city and the layers of the city, and then that's one extreme of the future, and then you're on this luxury yacht with all famous and rich people, and that's like the other extreme of the future, but they mesh so well. And the way the president acts, and the way the bad guy acts, and just the way everything works. And it's a long movie, and it's just so much fun, because this movie is one of those movies that just never slows down. It's just action, 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 action. And you got to watch the because it is a long movie, so that when you see it on television, they cut so many parts out of it. I saw it I remember I saw it on television once, and that was like just before I cut the cord. I thought, that's it. They cut so much out of that movie. I was so disappointed, and I bought the DVD to get all the fun stuff back into it. But that is a fun movie. The color palette, it's very colorful. You don't see that. Everything's orange. Everything's got dull blues, and I know there's science behind that, but this is just a very fun, colorful movie. It's one of my favorites, and again, it's one when I can't find nothing else to watch, but I feel like, oh, I want something fun. I put this movie in, and it just jumps all over the place, and the hero's fun, and the bad guys are fun. It's just a good movie. I just love it. Um, Another movie that never stopped, and this movie it kind of has a place in my heart because I saw it. Of course, all these movies I saw in the theater, um, and ended up buying on DVD or VHS. But this movie, when I went to see it in the theater, and it just blew me away. And I think that was anyone growing up, anyone as old as I am, who saw movies in the theater, because back in the day you didn't see movies on TV, you had to go to the theater. But this movie just blew us all away, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that because no one's ever seen anything like it before, and it set the tone for a ton of movies that came after. But this was the original, and I'm talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, and this is one of those movies that just never stopped. Every scene was an action scene, and every action scene carried into the next scene, and it was just so much fun to watch. And it still is. It's when you set a movie in the past and you make it a great movie, it makes it like timeless. You don't see outdated technology, and the bad guy, classical bad guys, who's worse than the Nazis, and it's just like it's another mystery. Like I said, I love unraveling a mystery, and this clue led him here, and this clue led him here, and and every bit of it was action, and it blew me away in the theaters. It still does, and everyone. I can't imagine anyone who's not seen it, but it's just one of the most fun movies there is. Um, Hops from all around the world, and there's mysticism in it, and there's Nazis in it, and there's gun battles and hand fights, and puzzles to solve, and I mean, it just has everything. It has everything that I love in a movie. And of course, I don't have to tell you to go see it because it's just a gorgeous movie. Everyone's seen it. Um, and then the last three that are on here, I put Kung Fu Panda 2. Like I said, these are my favorite movies. First of all, it's a gorgeous movie to watch. It's just the building when it's on fire and it tips over, and you know just the writing and the way the story comes together, and the villain. I mean, you'd think, oh, it's a peacock, but it was like one of the most evil villains. And it's I would I don't know how many people took their kids to see this movie, but to me it was a very adult movie, and it had very adult themes in it, and I think some of that might have gone over the kid's head, when he trips over the hole, and there's the pike, that the rhino had, and the implication was the rhino was killed, and they put that there to remind everyone that they killed the rhino. And when he trips over it, he looks up at it. The scene is just so powerful, and then they throw such good jokes in there because they follow that up with him trying to climb the stairs, and but it's just so powerful. In that last scene, when those ships are going out to sea at the dawn, and everything's orange because the sun is coming up. God, it was just gorgeous. And the whole message of that movie is inner peace. And I've never seen I've studied Buddha, and I've studied different religions, and that movie just brought it together. This is what inner peace is about. It's like being okay with who you are and where you come from. But just a gorgeous movie, very adult themes for a kids movie. Um, Everything about that I just, and Kung Fu Panda 1 was good, and it's a kids movie. Kung Fu Panda 3, I gave it mixed reviews myself. But Kung Fu Panda 2 did the trick. That was spot on. And I hear they're making 6 more movies for 9 total, plus the series. But I just hope they go back. They look at why 2 was so great and do the rest like they did 2. My last two, again, these are comedies. They're screwball. They're considered screwball comedies. The first one is a What's Up Doc with Barbara Streisand. And I know a lot of people, you know, she's been around forever. And you see her, you're like, how could she be a sex symbol? But God, you gotta see this movie. She was. She was a sex symbol in this movie. But it's like the epitome, the perfect screwball comedy. And it centers around all these people that have very diverse storylines. There's a murder. There's a spy, and there's a bag full of jewel, but all these bags that these people have are identical, and they get mixed up in this hotel. And of course, it all centers around this woman who kind of instigates things and instigates herself into the lives of these people, and all these bags get mixed up, and they all have different adventures, and uh, they all come together at the end in a great chase scene. The scene with the guy, just he's just walking and all these trash cans start rolling at him. It's hilarious. It's always been one of my favorite movies ever since I saw it way back when. And again, this is a movie that if you catch it on TV, they cut so much out of it, it doesn't even make sense. So you got to get the full version. Um, but just everything about that is just a perfect screwball movie. That this was something that I think it's a French thing to make a screwball movie, and this was just the perfect screwball movie. And I've seen a lot. I've loved a lot. I love Chasing the Fox, and after the Fox, there's a lot of movies out there like that, but this one just did everything right, right down to the big chase scene at the end with a floating Volkswagen. And I love Volkswagens, but it's just fun. It's fun from the start. It's like the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It never lets up. It just grabs you and it pulls you through this whole fun house. And I love it. It makes you laugh all the way through. The last one is a movie that I hear they're remaking it, but there's just no way you can remake this movie. Now, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so I grew up with a group of actors and actresses, and they're all in this movie. And I mean, from the Three Stooges to Jerry Lewis, everybody who was anybody in Hollywood at the time has a cameo in this movie. And of course, I'm talking about It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And it starts out simple. There's people and they witness a car accident. Just before the guy dies, he says, "Yeah, I buried the treasure in this park under a big giant W." And it grows and it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And every part, and you got to watch it at the beginning, they list all the names at the front of the movie. And it goes on forever. The overture is just forever. But there's a good reason for that, and that's because everybody's in it. And so you watch the cameos. There's even non-speaking parts where people are walking by and they're on the who's list of Hollywood at the time. And sometimes, when I first watched it as a little kid, I thought, oh, this is a nice, fun movie. And I could spot, even as a little kid, you can spot Jerry Lewis, and you can spot, I can't even think of all the names that are in this. The Three Stooges, and they did offer. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a sad story because Stanley Laurel was offered a part, but he wouldn't do it because he swore he would never act again. But just it's so much fun to see all these people, and in today's litigated world of contracts and ironclad contract, I just can't see them remaking this movie. I just can't. But They did it once, and it was fun. It was silly. It's all about cars and all the different cars in it, and I love cars, and uh, everything was perfect about this movie, and it's so much fun to watch. And this is a movie that I don't own and I can't find. Um, and I know that when they last released it, they added like 13 more minutes to it of lost footage, and the last time I saw it on television, because I know it's a 3 hour movie, and the last time I saw it on television, it was in 2 hours, so I know they cut an hour out of it. Uh, so it's just like, oh, I gotta see the whole movie again. So I've been, I know I can get it on Amazon and stuff, but I haven't got around to it. But it's a great movie. I did borrow the DVD from someone and saw the whole length again, and it holds up. If you're from my generation, and then maybe that's what the appeal is. If you're from my generation, you're gonna love this movie. Uh, Kids today, I don't think they're gonna recognize anybody in the movie. Um, but and I don't even know who's still alive that was in it, but fun movie. It's again, and so that's my top 11. I think that's 11 movies, but that's my top, and that brings me to my honorable mention list. You notice that in my top, let me look through this again just to make sure. None of them are horror movies because I love horror movies, but horror movies, they're kind of generic. They're kind of eh. So I put in my honorable mention as my one horror movie. Now, there's a lot of good horror movies out there. Cabin in the Woods was fantastic. It was a different take on the horror movie. Um, it's hard. I don't know. I did some reviews on horror movies, The Lady in Black, but there was a period of about a year where all I watched were these Japanese horror movies, and after like the first five or six, between Korean horror movies, Japanese, Chinese, that whole region, I developed this list of like 6 points, and I'm like, all the movies had these six cliches, and I could literally pull out my list and watch the movie and sit there and check them all off. And it just got to be so repetitive. I'm like, okay, someone in the first scene, this is one of the things on my list, is someone in the first scene that interacts with a character will be later revealed to be a fantasy person. So like these two sisters talking, and later in the movie, one sister's talking to the dad, and she's like, "No, my sister did that," and the dad's like, "No, she's been dead for years." That happens in every one of these movies, but I loved it. And there was one movie that took these cliches and they stretched them out and they made them so bizarre that I just had to call this as an honorable mention. It's called Strange Circus. And you might have to find it. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there, but Strange Circus, and it's a horror movie, and it's about death and torture. And I know the description. When I first watched it, the description said a kid is trapped in a cello case with a hole in it, and he has to watch his parents do despicable things, something like that. I'm like, oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And the movie, and there's always a twist at the end. That's one of my check marks. Is there's going to be this big twist at the end. And this movie had the twist, and I was like, oh, that was so cool because you can't. There, some of them are so good you can't. There's a twist, but you don't know what it is. And then like right after that, there was another twist. I was like, oh man, that really blew me away. And then there was another twist, and it's just like it kept happening, and I can't say this is one of my top 10 favorite movies, but it is an honorable mention. Strange Circus. Some of the other ones I couldn't pick up. I wanted to pick a Star Wars or a Star Trek movie, and I just couldn't think of one that was my favorite. So, you know, a lot of times, because I grew up with Star Trek, and then when they started making movies, that was like, oh my, that was like a dream come true to have to see everyone on the big screen. And the first movie was kind of, but then they did Wrath of Khan, and Wrath of Khan just did everything you wanted to see in Trek. a nacelle broke off. Everybody that saw Trek just was like, why doesn't the ship just break? And they showed the ship break and they showed destruction, and but then there was other ones too that showed destruction, and you know that's what we wanted to see from Star Trek, because the old series never had great special effects. You never saw ship to ship blowing each other up and parts coming off and stuff, and so the movies did that, and it kind of made our dreams come true. But I couldn't really pick one, and I couldn't say they're my favorite movies, but they are an honorable mention because they're a lot of fun. Another one, it's two movies. It's The Addams Family and The Addams Family Values. I love these movies. They're very campy. I love the one-liners. I use these. I wait for years to use these one-liners in real life, and because the setup's got to be just perfect on it. But they're just so campy, and I love the old series. But even from watching the old series, and you come forward and you see these characters, to me, this is the Addams Family. This is what they were like. This is what I'm going to think of from now on when I hear the Addams Family is, um, you know, Raul and Angelica Houston. They're just the perfect Gomez, and the perfect. I can't think of her name now, but not my favorite movie. So honorable mention. Um, I had to throw a Jerry Lewis movie in here, Ladies Man. Like I said, I grew up on Jerry Lewis. I mean, in real life, he's kind of an ass, but I loved his movie. I mean, there's a lot of actors you can say that about, but I loved his movies. They were very silly, and uh, some of the characters are just like, because he's so skinny and funny. And of course, he did the Nutty Professor, but that's not even my favorite. I like The Ladies Man. The Ladies Man took place on this one set, and you can actually see, they didn't hide the fact that this was a set. And it's about him. He breaks up with his girlfriend. He never wants to talk to a girl again. He agrees to become the houseboy. So he jumps into this job without realizing that it's the houseboy of an all-girls school. And of course, it's a very campy '60s movie, very beatnik, uh, but it's a very fun movie. And he does a lot of gags in it that are just the epitome of Jerry Lewis. And uh, I know some movies had some gags and other movies had other gags, but this had just like everything in it. Every one of the characters that he plays, and it's a fun movie. I just like it, but again, not my favorite. Honorable mention. Uh, and the last three movies I hesitate to bring because I love these last three movies, but they are considered, whenever you bring them up, people say these are the worst movies ever made. Now, one of them is Super Mario Brothers. And Super Mario Brothers, Bob Hoskins talks about how he drank and did drugs to get through the filming of this movie, and he hated it. And the other actors are like, God, they hated making this movie. And it was, whenever you talk about the 10 worst movies ever made, this movie comes up. I just thought it was a lot of fun. I like the cramped underground junkyard that these people lived in. And to me, it was just a lot of fun. And it was the Super Mario Brothers, and it did have Samantha Mathis in it, and she was gorgeous in this movie. Um, yeah, it was, yeah, but it was fun for me, and I liked watching. I liked the scenery, and it was just like you could tell they wanted to take this movie seriously, but no one wanted to do it. And but just watching it's a lot of fun. I liked it, but again, obviously it's not the 10 best movies ever made. And following that is the Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick. And if you I know there's flaws in this movie. I was in the military for a number of years, and the way they portrayed the military in this movie, I hated that. I didn't like the mayor and his aide, the whole Siskel and Ebert thing. But I liked the monster movie, and it's not like a horror movie, and it's not, um, it's a monster movie, which is a different genre. It's not horror. It's not suspense. It's monsters. And if you watch this movie not as a Godzilla movie, but as a monster movie, and that's how I watched it. I just think this isn't part of the Godzilla universe. This is a standalone monster movie about a monster in New York City doing things that a monster would do, and I just thought it was fun. And again, it's not one of my favorite movies, but it's a movie I'm very fond of. I liked it, and everybody else hated it. In the last movie, everyone hated it at first, but I think people are coming around to it. And this is the last movie I'm going to talk about. It's Land of the Lost. Now, Land of the Lost, it's kind of like the Brady Bunch movies. They knew this was going to be a silly movie, and everybody in it acts silly. The writing is silly. There's big plot holes and bloopers, but it's all because it's silly and it's fun. And the first time I saw it, I like laughed all the way out loud, laughed out loud, which I never do, but I laughed through this whole movie and it was so much fun. I don't know why people hate it. I think they were expecting a serious movie, but the original Sid and Marty Krofft Land of the Lost, and again, I'm a child of that era. I grew up with Sigmund and the Sea Monster and Puff the Magic Dragon, and was it Puff the Dragon? I can't remember what the dragon's name was. And Lidsville and Witchy Poo, and you know these shows were horrible, but kids loved them, and the characters were so they're puppets and they were so badly made, and you could tell there were people in them. And oh, Witchy Poo was horrible, and I can't even remember all the different Sid and Marty Krofft things. But to make a movie based on a Sid and Marty Krofft thing, it's either got to be a fantastic multi-billion-dollar spectacle, or it's going to be Land of the Lost, which is what this was. They had some good special effects in it, but it was all done just for fun. I mean, when the crab runs at them and they're all stoned out of their minds, and the crab gets steamed, so now they got steamed crab. It was just hilarious, and you know the whole dinosaur thing where it's got this brain the size of a walnut, and then the dinosaur actually brings them a walnut. It's like huge. It's just everything about that movie was just fun. And then when he cracks open the melon and all the spiders come out, I just they knew this wasn't a serious movie, and I think people thought, okay, this is going to be a serious movie, but it's not. It's just a vehicle for jokes. And this almost made it in my top 10. I love it that much, but it's an honorable mention. That is the last movie I'm going to talk about. So, in no particular order, these were my top movies. The Specials, Wall-E, Time of Their Lives with Evan Costello, Rango, Amelie, The Fifth Element, Spirited Away, Kung Fu Panda 2, What's Up Doc? It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Again, honorable mentions were Land of the Lost, Godzilla, Mario Brothers, all the Star Trek movies and the Addams Families, the 2 movies for Addams Family, Strange Circus, and Ladies Man. So those are my movies that I come to. And again, I took a whole month to compile this because when I first did my first list, I came up with like 5 movies. I'm like, I can't even come up with 10 movies I like. But then I came home and I sit down, I saw my stack of DVDs, and I'm like, oh wait, that's one of my favorite movies. And I looked at lists, and I'm like, oh wait, that's one of my favorite movies. And my VHS collection is on the wall, and I'm like, oh, that was a good movie. And so I did take some time to think about this, and I bumped some off. There's some that I like that aren't on here, but these are my favorites, and I chose them again because they take me out of reality and they hold me out of reality. There were some movies that I reviewed that broke the fourth wall or did something to take me out of the movie, like the Ghostbusters. Um, the Ghostbusters could have been a lot better than it was, but it kept reminding you that there was a Ghostbusters before it. It kept taking you out of the movie. Oh, here's a cameo by this Ghostbuster, and here's a cameo of the old ambulance, and here's a cameo. It was just nothing but cameos. And it was like they made this movie just to showcase the old movie, and that ruined it for me. But I like to be taken out of reality. I like roller coaster rides. That's why The Fifth Element's on here. That's why Spirited Away is on here. I like emotion. I like gorgeous movies. I thought about putting The Croods on here because I saw The Croods in 3D. And if you didn't see The Croods in 3D, and a lot of people haven't even heard of the movie, but in 3D it just blew me away because there's a scene where it's the end of the world, and the way they did the 3D and the distance and off in the distance you could see these mountains collapsing, and God, that was just one of the most gorgeous scenes I've ever seen. So I love gorgeous movies, and of course the cruise took place in a big fantasy caveman world, not our caveman world because everything about it was alien, but just a gorgeous movie, and that's why I like the Rango and the Fifth Element, um, Kung Fu Panda. They were gorgeous with their eye candy. They just grab your eyes, and um, fun movies, roller coasters. What's Up, Doc? It's a mad world. Fifth Element, good mysteries, Time of Their Lives, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Uh, People ask me why I didn't like what was it? American Treasure. That was a good unraveling of a mystery story. Yes, but I don't know. There's just something about it. It was too grandiose because every clue was like, oh, it's the Declaration of Independence. It's the Mount Rushmore. Every clue was just too big. And um, what was the other one? The one with Tom Hanks. I can't think of the name of it right now. The Da Vinci Code. That was a good movie. That was the kind of movie I would write. And the Da Vinci Code, maybe that's an honorable mention, but uh, yeah, good mystery. A good this clue leads to this clue. This clue leads to this clue. The time of their lives was like that. Nothing was given to them. They had to figure it all out themselves. But that's why I like these movies. I love a roller coaster. There's no dramas on here, and there's no real movie. Movies like When Harry Met Sally, or How to Lose a Guy in 30 Days, or 50 First Dates. Those movies are like, I don't, they're good movies, but they're not movies. They're not great movies. They're, real life. I don't know, real life doesn't move me like that. Dramas, I can't. Casablanca is considered one of the greatest movies ever made. I do love Casablanca, the whole story, and it's very emotional. It just rips your heart out. Um, but it's not the kind of movie that's a favorite to me. And there's no roller coaster ride. There's no mystery. There's no. It's just a romance and people in love, and that happens every day in real life. And I don't. I like to be taking away from real life. I like to see the Fifth Element. I like to see. Oh, you know. And I've gone through all these movies, so I'm like forgetting all the names and stuff. But the big ship and the big ship crashing, and the way they display New York, and all the layers of the town and the flying cars, and that was just a gorgeous movie and fun to watch. It didn't, of course, that was considered a love story, but it was just more about the technology and the eye candy. But these are the type of movies I like, and I hope that um, it like explains to you when I review a movie, kind of a jumping off point. When I watched, let me think what the last movie was I watched. I watched Finding Dory. I watched Finding Dory the other day. I didn't do a review on it. It's gotten rave reviews. I didn't like it as much as Finding Nemo, but it was a very fun movie, a very nice movie. Um, but if I were to review that movie, now you know why I would like it. That's a movie that would be removed from reality. That's a movie that couldn't happen in real life. It is a movie about heartstrings and family and friends and what constitutes your family. And you know, I I don't like to be pulled into the emotionness of it. I'd rather have either a good scare or something to think about. Barton Fink. I don't know if you've ever seen Barton Fink, but independent movie, very bizarre. Very fantasy like, and it's one of those movies where you're like, did this really happen or did he dream that happened? And then did this really happen or did he dream that happened? It's a very cerebral movie, but again, it's not the kind of movie I would go out for because there was nothing in the movie that made you laugh. It wasn't a comedy. There wasn't anything in this movie that I don't know tugs your. Oh, I just thought of one that I would put on my honorable mention list. Brazil. I love Brazil. Again, just the whole. Was it real? Was it not? Is this reality? Whose future is this? And of course, the movie was made back when computers were first coming out. So his future of computers, I don't know. It's just it's like when you watch the old Battlestar Galactica. They actually have CRT screens, and we all know CRT screens have gone the way of the dinosaurs. But Brazil, they actually had CRT screens with magnifying glasses in front of them, and you're like, what future is it? This is a very steampunk type of future, and gorgeous movie to watch, very fun. But these, I read the list already, but these are the ones that I love and the ones that take me on the best ride. And so when I judge a movie, when I'm watching a movie, and if I'm doing a review, that's what I'm doing. I'm judging the movie. That's what I'm doing. That's my jumping off point. So these were my movies. I'll list them again in the comment section. Uh, but if I'm gonna continue doing this, I thought I would do a show like this. I might do 10 worst movies, but I don't remember the worst movies. They fall out of my head. So the best movies, these are my favorites. I would recommend going out and watching them, and just they're a lot of fun. Maybe not the honorable mentions because, like I said, everyone hates Mario Brothers, but I just thought it was kind of fun. Um, but the other ones, these movies all got rave reviews. Uh, maybe not the specials. No one's ever heard of the specials. Some of the older movies. This is considered one of the better Abbott and Costello movies. So they are good movies in their own right. So go out and watch them. Don't take my word for it. If you like them as much as I do, then when you watch my reviews, you will know that, okay, I know where he's coming from. So if he says this movie's like this, then maybe I'll pick a different movie. Maybe I'll love this movie. But that's my jumping off point. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I had fun doing this. This is one of my longer videos, so I don't know if it'll get 0 views or minus views or get taken down. But I don't enter. I don't. It's one thing about making videos is I have the ability. I have done this before. I could take scenes from the movies and put them in my reviews, but that's just so much work, and I run the risk of getting something taken down for copyright infringement or something. But I'm just having a lot of fun doing these, and like I said, my original channel was going to be something completely different. It was going to be quasi religious, and I had another one where I'm a corner gas fan, and I was gonna do a whole channel on corner gas, like life according to corner gas. And just because it's so popular and haven't seen it done, I think, oh wow, that would be cool. But I started doing reviews just as practice, just to see if I could do it, just to see if the microphone worked, just to see if I could talk that long. And as it turns out, I actually like doing that. And I call them knee jerk videos because I watch the movie, I watch them in my living room, and I come back here. This is my little studio area. And I come back here and I review the movie like within a half hour, an hour after watching it. So I'm just giving you my knee jerk reaction to the video. And I know a lot of other ones, they break the movie down, they show clips, they get into it, and I'm like, no, I'm just going to talk about the movie and whether I liked it or not, and what I found fault with. Because some things seem okay right after the movie, but if I had a week to think about it, I might think, oh, now that I think about it, that scene was really stupid. you know. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. These were my favorite movies. I'll list them all in the credits. Go out and watch some. Have a good time. And today is Christmas Day. And yes, I'm alone, home alone on Christmas Day, but my family's spread out. So I did visit them all throughout the week. I had the week off, and I've been visiting everybody. Uh, and I'm just kind of sitting here on Christmas Day, and I thought, oh, this is the perfect time to do this. It's quiet. Everyone's out doing their own thing. So, Merry Christmas and happy movie watching. And I think I might do some more of these. So watch for Knee Jerk Review. I might name the channel that. I've been saying that. They're not official titles, but I just been calling them movie reviews. But Knee Jerk Reviews seem to be working for me. Uh, Having fun. Hope you had fun. If you have any opinions, I can't remember if I'm leaving comments open on these. I'll have to check that. I think I did. Um, I also I do have a mystery channel. If you look for Solomon Vanyich, you'll find me tied up in the basement reading code, and the code does lead to something, and it's something big. So, um, but enough of that. I'm gonna go maybe work on my book now, do some writing. Have a good day, and take care, everybody. Merry Christmas.